New theme music, new logo. It's the 150th episode here on Spliced In Later Digital World. It's very exciting. How are you all doing? I hope you all are doing well. You should know that aside from the new music and the new logo, I'm not doing anything special for this 150th episode because A, I couldn't think of anything to do, and 2, I saw a movie. So I thought I'd talk about the movie instead. 150 is not really that an important a number anyway. If I celebrate every 50 milestone, I'll be patting myself on the back every 6 months, which isn't worth doing. When we get to 200 episodes, maybe I'll do something. Maybe. We'll see. But I saw a movie over the weekend, and it was not a movie that was on my list of movies to see this year. So I thought, that's content. Let's talk about it. And I do love talking about stuff like this because as much as I love movies and TV shows, and as much as at the start of the year I plan out all the movies I want to see and all the TV shows I want to watch, it is all based on previous knowledge of stuff I like and things I want to see. So yeah, sure, I may say I want to see 30 plus movies this year, but if you eliminate half of them due to being sequels or remakes or reboots, and then you eliminate some more based on just specific directors that I want to see, regardless of what the content is. So Guy Ritchie, Christopher Nolan, Quentin Tarantino, stuff like that. Very rarely do I go through a list of movies, see the title of something and go, that looks interesting, I'll add it to the list. In that regard, I rely on my friends around me to tell me to go and see movies. And it's always a risk because I don't like to not know what I'm in for. I suppose I don't want to be spoiled about a movie, but I don't want to be tricked to see a horror movie. And there was a brief moment just as the lights were going down for this movie where I thought, oh man, have I been tricked into seeing a horror movie? I'm a little concerned. But the result was that, as with most of these cases, it was a fantastic movie, probably one of the greatest movies I've ever seen, definitely a contender to be one of the top 10 films of this year, that's for sure, and something that will boggle my mind till the end of time. Today we are reviewing the new film Everything Everywhere All at Once, starring Michelle Yeoh, a crazy black comedy kung fu style adventure about a woman jumping around through the multiverse to protect her family and save herself from some impending doom and disaster. Now, what I wasn't told before seeing this movie is that this movie comes from the director who did Swiss Army Man, starring Daniel Radcliffe and Paul Dano. Now, to be fair, I haven't seen that movie. It could be great. From what I hear, it's actually a masterpiece of a film. But it also looks ridiculous and bizarre and silly. And there's a fine line. I think everybody has their breaking point when they watch movies like these, Swiss Army Man or Everything Everywhere All at Once, where it can be so bizarre and crazy, but also the messages and the themes and everything there just really work and gel for you, as it seems to be the case with a lot of people that are seeing this movie. But also, some of the weirdness and the bizarreness might be too much for you. And that's why I'll put a little asterisk at the start of this review, which is that I would definitely recommend this movie, but I would not recommend it to everybody. I would not recommend it to casual moviegoers who don't really care about art style or themes or film, who just go to fill an hour or two. I would definitely not recommend it to people who are easily baffled by bizarre things that make you uncomfortable or confused. And I wouldn't recommend it to people who are not fans of black comedy. So that's stuff that makes you laugh, but then you feel bad about laughing at, that sort of thing. All of that's in here is jumped up to 11. I don't know if it's as intense as Swiss Army Man. I think it might be a little better. I don't know. I haven't seen the movie. I can't comment. But for instance, I would not recommend this movie to anyone in my family. I've showed many movies to many people in my family, and as much as I love this film, I do not think they would appreciate it or get it or enjoy it or understand it. I shouldn't say get it. You could get it. It wouldn't be a fun experience for them. So that's my little asterisk. If you like bizarre, crazy, mind-boggling mindfuckery, this is your shit. You'll love this stuff. If you really like film, the art style of filmmaking, you'll like this film. If you like Short Round from Indiana Jones, you will be pleasantly happy with this film. But if you are somebody who thought Thor Ragnarok was a bit too much, or the Edgar Wright style World's End, Shaun of the Dead is just a bit too silly. You're not going to have a good time with this one. All right, moving on. I don't think I'm going to talk about this movie too much because this movie needs to be experienced without any sort of understanding of what you are about to experience. I don't know what it would have been like if I'd known what was coming, but my friend who did invite me to see this film knew more about it than I did, and still their mind was absolutely like, what the hell did we just watch afterwards? So it will be a rather short review. To sum it up very briefly and completely, it is definitely a fantastic film that gets a 9 out of 10 from me and worth seeing. But anyway, so the plot of the movie: Michelle Yeoh plays a Chinese American woman who is operating a laundromat with her husband, and they have a daughter, and her father lives with her. But she is absolutely miserable. You can see through her everyday life and how she interacts, especially with her husband, that she feels her life is meaningless and wasted. It's not explicitly stated, but even she sort of resents her daughter for being born because she envisions a life for herself where she wasn't tied down by the mundane and the boring and the stress that comes with the laundromat and her family and living in America and all of that stuff. On one particular day, I think she's applying for a loan to build out her business, but there's a bit of a communication barrier with the teller, the IRA agent, Jamie Lee Curtis. During this time, however, her husband every now and then suddenly starts changing personality completely. His name is Waymond Wang, and normally he is a very friendly, happy, caring, kind, but very meek and put upon individual. Definitely lives in fear of his wife. But then every now and then suddenly his personality snips and he is this big kung fu expert, brave, fearless, loving, caring, all of that stuff, who keeps trying to tell Michelle Yeoh that she is in danger. Out there in the multiverse, there is this ultimate evil that is trying to destroy her across the multiverses, basically trying to destroy all the universes or gain absolute power by existing in all the multiverses at once. And he is looking for the Michelle Yeoh that is the one, the perfect Michelle Yeoh, the one who has the ability to take it down. He believes it's our mundane laundromat, Michelle Yeoh. She disagrees very, very much so. They go on their adventure. They do a lot of kung fu fighting. Interestingly, a lot of this movie takes place in the IRA building with fight outs and shootouts and all of that stuff. Not a lot of it takes place outside of that building, at least in the main multiverse level. But Michelle Yeoh discovers that if she hones her abilities, she can tap into the multiverse and pull out the skills of her from other universes, whether she's a movie star or a chef or a knife expert, anything like that. She can pull that to her to use to her advantage to protect herself against this evil's minions and the evil itself. But she has to be careful, because if she allows herself to do that too much, her mind will fracture, being in all these different multiverses at once, and all hell will break loose. That's it. That's all I'm going to say about the plot of the movie. What follows is absolutely insane. You get some really cool kung fu style fight scenes, and you also get some really bizarre looks into multiverses with just the weirdest things. There's one particular multiverse which worked, I think, as a good funny side gag, but then we kept going back to it and it made me uncomfortable. A lot of this movie made me uncomfortable, but in a good way, I think, in a way that makes you go, whoa, is that actually happening? Whether it's seeing a universe with some weird appendages, or, for instance, to access the powers of these other individuals across the multiverse, you have to do a weird thing for it to happen. And a lot of it's very silly and risque, whether it's sitting on a butt plug or humping a tree. There's one bit where Waymond has to paper cut his hand 4 times, and I literally could not look at the screen because the idea of a paper cut is horrifying to me. It's the same thing from John Wick 3. I love that movie, but that scene where the ballerina just takes off her toenail, cannot watch it. And it's the same with paper cuts in film. First off, the acting is incredible. Michelle Yeoh is absolutely fantastic, not only as our main Michelle Yeoh, but the different personalities across the different multiverse, and also the way she portrays her view of the world and her opinion of her family, and how that gradually changes over the course of the film. She's absolutely fantastic. Seeing her in this made me realize that she was absolutely wasted in her role in Shang-Chi. She's really talented and she's great at what she does. She's got really good comedic timing as well. I think she was fantastic. The scene stealer for me, though, was her husband, who, interesting enough, and I cannot pronounce his name, so I'm not going to, but it was the actor who years and years ago appeared in Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom as Short Round, and he was also in The Goonies as well, before disappearing off the face of the earth for 30 years. I didn't know that, but watching the movie, there was something about him where I was like, I think I know who this person was, and luckily I was told who it was before the movie got really into it, or that would have pulled me out of it because I was trying to pick that voice and see where I came from. He is so pure and good and happy in this movie, regardless of what multiverse character he's portraying. He is vital and important to the overall solutions and themes of the movie. He's got great comedic timing as well, but just a lovable, goofy patheticness to him, which I absolutely can relate to. Jamie Lee Curtis, she's very good. She's very gross in certain scenes, which I have never seen Jamie Lee Curtis do before, so that was interesting. James Hong as Michelle Yeoh's dad. He has some great... He's always been funny. He's a hilarious guy, and he does the same thing as well, where the personality shift between the multiverse characters is really impressive with all the characters in here. Even the daughter as well, from Michelle Yeoh. There's the way they just change completely, their tone, their way they act, the way they walk, the way they stride. A lot of it just depends on them selling to you the differentness that this multiverse and all the characters are. It's a coincidence that this movie comes out a month before Doctor Strange and a few months after Spider-Man, when the multiverse is just becoming the biggest thing in the Marvel Cinematic Universe right now. But Doctor Strange has got some big shoes to fill if it can match the way the multiverse is laid out and explained in this film without it getting too overstuffed. And that's where this movie will probably excel over Doctor Strange, if Doctor Strange relies on the multiverse just to reference things that have already been. If it ends up just being, here's the X-Men from the X-Men movies, here's the Fantastic Four from the Fantastic Four movies, here's Doctor Strange if he were evil, here's Doctor Strange if he were a zombie. Pretty simple stuff for the multiverse, and it relies on you recognizing things that you've already seen. For something like this, for Everything Everywhere All at Once, it has to, from the beginning, introduce you to a world you know nothing about, and then turn that world upside down in terms of the different variations and the multiverse in itself. And the variations in the multiverse, as I said, are so bizarre and out there, some in very wacky ways and some in very uncomfortable ways. But it really makes you think, this is a multiverse. This is taking advantage of a universe where literally anything can happen. And it is well paced as well. It is a very long movie, over 2 hours, but it didn't feel it. It's broken up more or less into 3 parts. Each part is not equal in the time it takes to tell that part, but it moves along very fast. As I said, most of it sets place in that IRA building, so it has a very contained, claustrophobic sense to a movie that is taking advantage of the vast majority of the multiverse, which is impressive in its own right. And by the end of the movie, you will feel all the emotions. You will feel happy. You will feel sad. You will feel the urge to cry. Whether you cry or not is completely dependent on you as an individual. And you will definitely be thinking about this movie for days after seeing it. I saw it on Thursday before Easter. 4 days off, and I've still been going, what the hell was that movie? That was nuts. It's made me consider that I would give Swiss Army Man a try. And I really don't want to, but I think I might, because incredibly well-made, well-directed film with very incredible ideas, very good comedic timing, very good action, great use of characters, actors all excelled, especially Michelle Yeoh. I mean, this is her movie. There is no doubt about it. And I think it's a good movie if you had no idea it exists, is something to go see. I mean, every day you open on the TV and the trailer is for the next big blockbuster. As of this morning, the new trailer for Thor 4 has appeared. So stuff like this can slip under the radar, but I am happy to see that this movie seems to be gaining traction. I was aware of its existence before I was asked to see it, because all over Instagram people were saying, you need to see this movie. You have to see this movie. As I said at the start, I don't think you have to see this movie if it's not your cup of tea. This movie is not for everyone, and I would hate to tell someone, oh, you gotta see this movie, just for them to go, what the hell did you just make me watch? But for a majority of people, and I think the majority of people who at least listen to this podcast, it's worth giving a go, just to go, either wow, that was a really intense, cool cinematic experience, or wow, what the fuck was that? That's insane. What the hell? Who could come up with something like that? That's pretty impressive and bizarre and disturbing, depending on which part of the movie you are looking at. As I said, Everything Everywhere All at Once gets 9 out of 10 from me. It probably won't be the best film of the year for me based simply on preference. As much as I like a movie that's wacky and bizarre like this, something like The Batman, it's my kryptonite. It's my thing that really gels with me. But I am happy to see the beginning of stuff like this appearing on my list, who I had never heard anything about, and I'm already getting ready to buy it on DVD when it comes out to add it to the collection. A great experience, one I will not forget for sure, and one I'm looking forward to again for something like The Northman, or The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent, or all these other crazy films that had trailers before the movie that I had not even considered seeing until now. There you are. Thank you very much for listening. I hope you've enjoyed. If you haven't, go see Everything Everywhere All at Once if you want to, but you don't have to. It's the end of Easter. I think many of you probably already have. But I will be back next week, and I don't think I'll be seeing a movie during that time, so I'll have to come up with some content. I think I might actually talk about Doctor Who for a bit. I wanted to talk about Doctor Who on this show for quite some time, and as we are getting towards the end of Jodie Whittaker's tenure as the 13th Doctor, might be a good time to tuck into that. Not necessarily in a analyzation sort of way, but just in a, I like Doctor Who, here are my favorite things about it. That seems like a fun thing to do. Maybe I'll do that. Or maybe I won't. We'll see. Until then, stay safe, stay kind to one another. I love and appreciate you as always. Thank you for listening to me. It's been a wonderful treat to get to talk about this movie with you, however vaguely. And I will catch you on the next Spliced In Later. Adios, muchachos. I'll catch you next time.